No one else is asked in this society to engage in this type of sacrificial morality. No other group.
Mhm.
White Americans in general, in particular, white women are not asked to engage in this type of morality. Other ethnic minorities who are not white, who are white adjacent or what have you, they're not asked to engage in this type of sacrificial morality. It is only Black Americans. We are asked to carry the burdens of other human beings, other
That's
groupings.
Shout out to BMI 3000 Reloaded. It is a blessing to have him available at the click of a mouse to hear the expertise that he has to offer with the intersection of the Black experience and how religion has been used to essentially control our place in America and how we behave inside of it. And one of the very key tenets to that is the idea of suffering and redemption. And he is just masterful in explaining how it handcuffs Black people and our experience and how we live our lives as Black Americans.
with an area that I believe many of the people in our audience are already familiar with.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the conflation and
Mhm.
confusion that emerges most specifically from a so-called Christian doctrine, which conflates and confuses suffering with redemption,
Yeah.
or suggests very forcefully that to suffer is to be redeemed.
Black Americans have been viewed in, messianic redemptive ways.
Mhm,
Um, we have been viewed rather as sacrificial lambs. Okay.
mhm,
I just give an example. So when you think about slavery,
mhm,
okay, the African was sacrificed for the sole purpose of advancing this Anglo-American civilization. Okay. In other words, people have to die. Okay. You have to go to the cross in order for someone else to benefit from your death, to advance things. And in every period of Black people's sojourn in this uh, North American context, we have been burdened with this um, demand to give ourselves over to death, to martyrdom, suffering, service, all sorts of things. So you've got suffering, you've got service, you've got sacrifice, you've got death. Okay. And this has been at the core of our condition.
If you grew up either connected to the Black church or just witnessed it, you'll understand how powerful these four words are in connection to the Black church experience.
You've got suffering, you've got service, you've got sacrifice, you've got death.
You only need to look back to stories from Sunday school to remember the kind of priming that we got. Stories of turning the other cheek, or he who is without sin casting the first stone, or the songs that later came in service of struggling on earth, but there's milk and honey in the sky. If you deal with the struggle and toil of this life, there's going to be a better next life. Stories of how to cope with struggle and toil and difficulty in a some kind of noble manner. And even the ultimate story of God sending his only begotten son, sacrificing him for other people. And if God will do that, then we should be willing to do it as well. But then the logic comes in, and then you simply ask, if we as a people are willing to suffer, be in service of, and sacrifice to others, then who is willing to do that for us in return?
You have so many people over the last decades who have been classified as, allies or what have you, who hide behind Black people, who
that's
hide
right.
behind the messianic morality. You die for us. We're not going to die for you. You die for us.
Mhm,
Okay? We're not going to sacrifice and everything. We expect you to take all of the bullets. We expect you to go to jail. We expect you to sacrifice your livelihoods. We expect you to pay the ultimate price because this is the role that you've played in history,
mhm,
and this is how we have understood who you are in this society. And so the point that I make is that this is a deleterious demand and morality, which no longer serves a beneficial purpose to Black Americans.
One of the benefits I've had of being overseas is seeing systems that benefit young boys that may have fallen off the track. And instead of consuming those boys get pulled back onto the tracks. And then when they get to where their feet are stable, they see a reason to sacrifice for the system. But if you're seeing a system where young boys are just kind of consumed for the purpose of other people, in fact, they're essentially sacrificed, or they are in service to people that are not there to look out for them, then it's inevitable what's going to happen. People are going to want to get out of the system. And Dr. Neal is going to explain precisely why a system like this is just not very attractive to a new generation of young men.
And so it limits our imagination. It limits it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly making reference to this redemptive thing, going to the cross and what have you. So when a Black person dies, or a Black person gets killed by the police, a Black man or a Black woman or what have you, it is always read through this type of redemptive framework. Okay. And what happens is, well, there's a larger purpose for this person being killed. So Trayvon Martin, I'll give you an example. So you look at what happened in 2012 when he was murdered by the private citizen and everything like that. And what happens, you have this rebirth of activism or whatever. Well, here's how you rationalize it. Well, Trayvon Martin's murder sacrifice gave birth to this new movement. And here we are out here in the streets, and we're protesting, and we've resuscitated the dead energies from the past or what have you, and now we're dealing with police brutality, and we're dealing with private citizen violence and all this kind of stuff, and now we can really deal with structural racism. That's a very, very warped way of understanding our existence, the existence of Black people in the world. Trayvon Martin's death was horrible. It wasn't redemptive. It wasn't messianic. Okay, you don't want to look at, this is the argument that I make. It is dangerous to continue to look at these type of events through this type of lens, because it limits our understanding of freedom. You've got suffering, you've got service, you've got sacrifice, you've got death.
One of the benefits of being a content creator is that every so often you can deviate from trying to make a video that might possibly go viral and just make a video that you know is going to touch the hearts and mirror the experiences of some people that follow your content. And in this particular case with Dr. Ronald Neal's interview, he spoke right to the experience, especially as a Black man, of being told that you're supposed to sacrifice, that you yourself are what is to be sacrificed. You are to be in service, that you are to suffer without complaining. And that is your lot in life. And you find a almost system that's built to make you suffer, deal with difficulty, and just kind of grin and bear it. And the problem, of course, with this is that no one else is told to do this. And so at a certain point, you look up and say, well, if we're going to be, I don't know, people of color or whatever classification, then that means it's someone else's turn to suffer and do something for us. And you could take that to even as a Black man. Where are the women that are going to do the best for us, as opposed to us continually suffering, or should I say sacrificing ourselves to make other women happy? It's a logic that runs the gambit of the Black experience, in my case, Black male experience of, well, if I'm supposed to give up all of this and I'm supposed to struggle and toil, sooner or later, I'm supposed to get something back. And instead of being socialized to continue to deal with that, what we're starting to see is an awakening of men, in our case, Black men, saying, well, if I'm going to suffer and get nothing back, then let me just embrace Black male independence. Isn't that what Dr. Neal says? think it is. And he eloquently explains, as a PhD would, why more and more black men are seeing their way out the door and looking for something new. Because you're supposed to sacrifice for people that would sacrifice for you, not because you are born as a sacrificial lamb. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.